Well, I mean that's why it's sports, man. Anything can happen.
Yeah, and that's just a classic answer. You know, if my grandma had wheels, she'd be a bike. So
I like that. I like that one more than me just
yeah,
being like it's sports. I mean, can I use that tomorrow?
yeah, man. It's well, I like that, and then you get it even more ridiculous, and you're like, yeah, and if my fucking aunt had, or sorry, what if my uncle had tits, he'd be my aunt. You know, it's fucking
I like
getting
that.
all sorts of silly white people shit like that.
It's just another day. It's just another day. It's just another day. It's just another day. It's just another day.
But this is the second half of the first ever Just Another Day draft, and this is Just Another Day with
David.
Adam.
Elliott. I guess that like those don't like that should be a genre at some. Or do you consider stoner movies a genre, or is it just a given that they're all comedies?
Stoner movies are just a it's like a subgenre of comedy. But
Yeah.
you're never gonna get
Like
like
how
a
rom com's a thing, they're stoner com.
kinda, yeah,
You
absolutely.
kind of, yeah. Yeah.
It's just usually not done very well at all. Like it's
Right.
usually just full of really stupid fucking movies.
Or and then they have the standard college movie that makes the stoner like a guy. It's like looks like Kaiser and just walks around. It's like what? And
Pretty
you're like
much.
what? That's not. That's literally most of them look like your school teachers. Like you know what I mean? 4-year-old
Pretty
dads just
much.
token up.
Well, that's the thing. They have to make it funny, as I do air quotes when I say that. They gotta have the exact idea
Ham
of
it
what
up.
people picture. I don't
That
know.
not.
Well, yeah, I guess would you consider no, actually I'm not gonna, but the well, actually this one is like Dazed and Confused is one that comes to mind where I'm like that's kind of a older
I
stoner comedy. That's like
I
one of the first of the bunch.
I would say
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
That's got that feel. I was gonna bring up Fast Times, but that's not. I don't think that's really a stoner movie. That's
No.
just kind of
No,
a
I don't
overall
think.
funny movie that
Yeah.
happens to have a little weed in it.
Is Big
Yeah.
Lebowski a pot comedy?
No, it's more of a White Russian comedy.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
I don't.
It's got its
The only
own new
Russian that you
genre
can
of
still
White
get in
Russians.
America, baby.
Yeah.
No, the Russian import there. No, that is like a weird thing. Like I started thinking about that. I was like, I don't really think there's any like another weak comedy. I guess would be the Friday movies.
Oh
All
yeah,
kind
no,
of
that's
dictate
true.
Yeah.
around weed. I
Especially
guess
the
the
first
first
one.
two, and then I don't know
That's the thing too. They just get weird. Like weed's always involved, and it's always a part
a
of it. It always
subplot.
plays a role. The first one was probably the most important one for it, though, where he just smokes that last bit of Big Worm's fucking weed, and now all of a sudden he's out to fucking kill him. He's like,
Big perm, big snake, big. I don't give a
yeah,
damn.
I don't give a damn, yeah.
Oh
And
man,
I wish that they could have patched that shit up, and he was in another one of those movies.
that'd been funny as fuck. I
But then, but then again, like if you're in that position, or sorry, you're in the position we are now, and you're casting a Friday movie, you could only have Smokey or Day Day. Who are you gonna pick? Because I'd probably pick Day Day. I really like Mike Epps.
Yeah, Mike Epps is hilarious. I think the issue with Smokey is it's not really like at the end of the movie his character is still a piece of shit and like not as funny. Like most of the funny shits happens to him in the first Friday. It's not like Mike Epps where Mike Epps is the funny one. I don't want to do that, man. Like acting like a little bitch.
Yeah.
It's like it's just so funny. Or it's like, "Where's security, Craig?" As the
Top flight
whistle.
security. Top flight security of the world, Craig.
That's what I mean. Like that shit cracks me up because like just the way Mike Epps plays it is just a big ass goofball. Like
Well, that and he has the greatest quips. Like when they go into the little guard shack, and Ice Cube's like, "Man, it's small," and he's like, "No, you big in here." I was like, "Oh shit."
pulls him
I
down to
like,
sit on the milk crate to calm
yeah.
down. Like fuck, man. Like that shit's so funny.
It's incredible that and Cat Williams having like one of his first big roles in that too, and just and of all people, Cat Williams versus Terry Crews
I
in a
know.
fucking rape battle. Like Jesus Christ, that was incredible. And Terry Crews just playing a fucking gay man coming out of jail. That shit. Damon is one of the greatest fucking characters ever written. It's
And that's
just
when
too
he
damn
was
funny.
like normal human size. Like he's fit, like he's normal fit, not like now where his muscles have muscles.
I don't know, man. He was pretty intimidating in that shit too. Like he wasn't just like some dude with a little muscle on him.
No,
Like, he
no,
was
no,
still
no.
pretty yoked up.
Yeah, I mean, but now he's a behemoth. You know what I mean? Like he may not be like probably one of the strongest people in the world, but I think he is definitely one of the like most in control of his muscles people in the world who knows how to activate that shit like crazy.
I mean, he does some really cool workouts and shit. Like he's not even just doing regular shit. Like he does plyometrics with heavy weights. Like it's just his shit's just on a whole different level. He's not like gonna do a squat. He's gonna do a squat and then hit it with a big ass jump. He literally, if you remember the episode of My Wife and Kids when he's doing Euro training and shit, and it's just the most absurd shit. That's
Yeah.
literally what he's doing in the gym. It's crazy.
It's fucked up, man. I just don't think
It's awesome.
I don't think I could ever get those. But no, that's why I was just talking about those genres, just because we watched that movie over the weekend. And it just like it dawned on me. I was like, man, I literally don't think there's been, well, even comedies. Like I don't think there's been a comedy that I've ever had to go see in the theaters in a while. Like the last movie that was one that was like world sensational was like, I don't know, maybe like The Hangover. Like, you know what I mean? It was like that long ago.
Bro, that shit came out in like 2008 or 2009, didn't it?
Yeah, but like think about it, like Step Brothers was one we all had to see. Old School before that, like
Well, Old School was like old. What was that? Like probably like 2004, 2005 or
Yeah.
some shit.
Yeah,
That's
maybe
old.
even earlier.
yeah.
So
That's
that's
what I
a
mean.
fucking that's an old one.
Like I thought about that the
Yeah.
other day. I was like, when was the last comedy that like when it came to theaters that it was like, oh fuck, we have to go see this because this movie's hysterical. Like I don't think there's been one in a while. Like Talladega Nights and all that jazz. Like
Out of all that shit you said, which is all mostly just like the high school era, I think Pineapple Express is probably the latest of those ones that you mentioned. Because Talladega Nights, I'm almost certain that was 2006. 'Cause
damn.
Sounds about right.
I'm pretty sure that was freshman year. Because yeah, it was like literally middle of freshman year, I think. Because I remember everybody fucking talking about that movie.
Is
Me
comedy
included.
dead? Is that what I'm learning?
No, I think you're just confused.
Yeah, it's just.
To be honest, I think you just have your timelines mixed up right now.
Well, also,
no,
if you think about it, the last 2 years, nothing has been in theaters,
I get that. No, I just mean like
Wait,
and
how
everything
much-
goes digital very quickly, anyways. So
yeah.
I'm gonna say, how much stuff are you
It's-
watching on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon? There's got to be. I mean, honestly, you could probably go through the list and see what's been released just on those. You'll probably find a solid movie that you definitely enjoy. And it's been
Oh,
an
I know,
original
but I
for
mean
one
one
of them.
that's just has been as sensational as like I remember literally when those movies, like I guess in high school and stuff, came out, like we all were like, we're going to the theater to see this, or you know what I mean, like we just we had to see it, like super bad and like all like that jazz back in the day. Like when we saw those, like it was like, oh bro, you need to see this ASAP. Like I don't think there's been like a comedy I've released in the past like 5 years that has just been like, you need to see this type comedy. Like what? Like maybe like 21 Jump Street, was that like the last, like, you know, it's
I don't
weird to
even
think
know when
about.
that came out, to be honest with you.
That movie's probably like a 2014 or 15 release, I would bet.
Telling you, man, the days of the movies like Kingpin are over.
No, 21 Jump Street was 2012 actually, so that was probably 22 Jump Street I was thinking of that came out a little later. Or I'm still tripping.
Dude, I'm missing 10
and
years of my
maybe-
life where comedies could have came out and I would be able to enjoy them.
22 Jump Street was in 2014, and that was still definitely a must see movie. If you saw 21, you weren't not gonna go see 22.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think maybe your best bet, instead of just trying to figure out the movies in general, just think of actors or actresses that you enjoy in comedies, and I guarantee you, there's probably something that they've done that you've seen. You're just not thinking of it. There's been so much content from literally everybody. Like I guarantee. Well, that's also another thing. A lot of these people too, like your Jonah Hill and Michael Cera's and shit, they're not even doing comedies that much anymore. They're mostly sticking
know.
to indies and dramas and shit because they're trying to get out of that shtick.
Freaking what's his face from The Hangovers? Not Zach Galifianakis, but oh, the dude who killed himself in that movie with
Bradley Cooper.
yeah. I spoil the ending of the movie. You fill in the name. Spoilers for a movie.
I don't care. It's been out for a while.
Yeah.
If you haven't
Or
seen it,
movie.
fuck you.
Don't know
Yeah.
what. Not gonna say what movie.
Not gonna
before
say what movie, but you know the ending now. Yeah, Bradley
Yeah.
Cooper. Like I haven't seen like a comedy with him. The only thing I see is the only comedy I see that they're trying to hype up like it's a good movie is that fucking dog movie with what's his face from 21 Jump Street.
Oh,
Tatum.
Channing Tatum. Yeah,
They
no, I ain't
literally
watching that shit.
YouTube, and that's the only ad I swear on YouTube is this fucking dog film.
I don't know. I don't pay for ads.
I know you got that YouTube Red.
Yeah, I pay the chump change every month to not watch the fucking ads.
I feel that. I just can't
Fuck
help it, man.
that shit.
I like supporting free culture. YouTube should be free. Free.
Well, you know what? Here's a decent movie. I don't know if you watched it. Did you watch Booksmart on HBO?
No, but
No.
I've heard it's very good.
Yes, Booksmart is fucking
It has,
awesome.
Jonah Hill's sister.
Yep. Which is weird because I think her name is fucking like Beanie Siegel or some shit.
No, it's Feinstein or something like that. It's very Jewish.
Oh, it's Beanie Feldstein. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah, because every time I hear her
Close.
name, the fact that her name is Beanie, I'm like, yo, like the Philadelphia rapper Beanie Siegel? And I was like, yo, has she got the same name? What the fuck?
That'd be dope.
But no, that was a solid movie. That was a 2019 release. I'm pretty sure that, wait, maybe, is that an HBO direct release? Or
No, I think it was in theaters for a little bit.
was it in theaters?
I think so.
I know when I watched it, it was on
I think it was
HBO
a
or
limit.
Hulu or
I
something.
think it was a limited release though, so I don't think it was like, nationwide.
I feel that. Well, hell, man. I didn't mean to take up 20 minutes of our time talking about comedies. We got an episode to get to. Man,
Historical fiction episode.
historical
Get ready to laugh your
fiction
fucking tits off.
adventure films. All right.
Get ready to not be bored at all because this is only a very fucking specific fucking genre for certain people.
How
Yeah.
hard do you rate this assignment?
This one was tough.
On a scale of fucking 1 to 10, to be
I'm not-
honest.
I didn't have that much of a hard time. I'm gonna give it a straight up 5.
Which
I
was the
just don't
hardest
know.
part?
The hardest part?
Yeah, for you. We'll go
Trying
individual.
just trying to stay in genre because I'm telling you, it would have been so much easier to do a historical fiction comedy
Mm-hmm.
or historical fiction
Oh, for sure.
sci-fi fantasy adventures, something like that. But to keep
Mhm.
it rooted and yet still have fiction and adventure was kind of tough because it's hard to tell that story without being boring because
I get that.
it's not easy. So hopefully
Yeah.
what I've been able to come up with personally will work. And I definitely made sure I didn't touch a single fucking thing outside of the world of reality. Like this bitch is fully grounded. It's just
Oh,
silly.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, straight
It's-
up.
I will say that
Hardest
is.
part for me was writing 6 characters.
Yeah.
That was
Especially-
so hard.
May have gone too far by giving us 6 characters. That's my bad.
That was like, I was good at 4, and then I was like, "Fuck, I gotta write 2 more people into this somehow."
I get
Oh, I
that.
They
was
don't
on-
make sense, but they're in there.
Dude, I had to do a fucking full-on rewrite because not a full-on. I had the characters all written in. Then I was like, shit, who the fuck are my actors? I could only remember that I had fucking Bradley Cooper, John Goodman, Margot Robbie. I forgot the whole bottom half of my fucking list.
I also fucked myself by doing a bit by having all
Oh,
actors
man.
with HA as the last in their last name.
Yeah, you had it harder than ever. I had an easy time. I had.
It
3
actually
different
wasn't that bad,
stories.
except for one person I couldn't quite. It just didn't quite work out, but it's fine.
Look, we
Different times.
We don't judge
It's boy.
until it's our time to judge. We don't judge, but
Yeah.
no, I definitely think like this is a solid 5 because I was like all about adventure. And then I started thinking about historical side of that and I was like how the fuck do I write something just in history, fiction and adventure that doesn't have sci-fi, that doesn't have fantasy? Like that was mind fucking me because I kept wanting to be like, this would be cool, and I was like, oh, hold on, did they have A, this technology, and B, is this like feasible for the? I was like, motherfucker,
Dude, literally go
Fuck
back
me.
to the last
I
episode
know.
for this.
I
And I
know.
was like, I don't want adventure. I fucking don't want adventure. And boom, fucking adventure.
No,
Like, are you-
Adventure was fine. It was historical fiction. It really fucked us.
Yeah.
I feel like I would have done better with anything but the adventure. I wish it
I
was
think
fucking
I just think that
anything
combo
but
is a hard one. That
adventure.
is literally the hardest combo probably on the wheels together.
Dude, honestly, if
Yeah.
I would have wrote a drama, I feel I would have felt better. If it was a fucking historical fiction drama or
Oh,
something, I
that's
would be like,
easy.
oh, it's about to go down.
Done deal.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This fucking adventure shit, I was like, bitch, you're an adventure. This is stupid. I fucking hate it here.
Well,
Like,
fuck.
we have to write this though. It's like, it
This
has
is-
to come out.
It is difficult. Should we start in draft order? DAE?
Yeah, we can do that.
That's fine.
Fuck yeah. I mean, you can introduce your characters and tell the story of your story. I got nothing. That's as far as my brain went.
So the way I'm gonna roll through it is, I think I'm gonna do story, let the characters come out through the explanation, and then title at the end.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the way I'm gonna roll through it. I don't know about you guys, and you tell me this as well. Is your shit like probably longer than you feel it should be? Because I feel like I'm gonna be talking
Oh.
for fucking ever.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wrote this down in Word. I have 1,200. I have 1,200 words.
All right, who's ready to go to bed? Let's fucking do it.
Yeah, I got like some.
It's
Who's
gonna
ready
be
to fall
long.
the fuck
It's gonna be
asleep?
long.
Hey, look, we told people this is a story summary. This is a full-length movie you're getting in like a 5-minute rant.
I still may
I
paraphrase.
don't think I
this,
can.
'cause
I don't
it's-
even know if I could kill it in 5 minutes. Like, I hope I can. I don't know how long this is, but I feel like looking at it, it's too long. But if
yeah,
I
it's-
didn't do this, I felt like I was instantly going to be the loser for being like, I wrote
Yep.
down 4 words.
Yeah.
I wrote story. Fucking.
Totally fine, man. Roll through it. Let's do it.
All right. We're going to set the scene. Movie starts with a time stamp, little date. It is August 1st, 1943. We are in the ocean. You're going to see the ship PT-109 written on the side of it. As you see it cruise across the screen, it is instantly split in half by a gigantic fucking boat with a Japanese flag painted on the side of it. It is a Japanese destroyer boat ramming through this small PT-109 boat. After the boat hits, the boat is literally, after the fucking Japanese boat hits the PT boat is literally in two. Starts sinking, going right underwater. This is not a heavily manned ship, but once it got hit, everyone assumed that every single person on this ship was dead. But there was one brave soldier who led himself and 10 other good men out of the boat. Now, in between this scene, there's going to be the whole classic, holy shit, the boat's filling up with water, we're turning the water locks, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're getting through all that sheen. Hold your breath, we gotta take a dive, all that dope shit. After they do that whole scene, they're going to get out and they're going to find debris from the ship floating around. And they're going to actually jump on top of it and hold themselves up by it to keep themselves afloat, because that was one hell of an ordeal. After they do that, they're going to float ashore on the islands. This is where you'll start to get a little setting. There are islands that they were floating near and that they were going by. Once you get onto the island, there's going to be some talk back and forth with the men. As the talk goes back and forth, you're going to realize the man who led them out of the boat is John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy, while on the island, decides the only way to get help is to make contact with the native people of this island. And he takes a coconut, because they don't speak English, and writes, 11 men still alive, send a small boat. It is written inside the coconut, and the 2 natives that he found basically go across the other side of the island, give the note to the commander. They bring a small ship across around the island. They pick them up. All of the men are boarding. There is 10 of the 11 men currently boarding this ship. The last man was not a part of the Navy like the other 10 were. This man actually happened to be a Marine. And this Marine's name was only written on his patch with his last name that said Oswald, played by Christian Bale. Also, my JFK character is Bradley Cooper. So, JFK is Bradley Cooper. Christian Bale is Oswald. And as Oswald is making his way up through the water into the boat, he kind of loses his footing, falls, slips, and JFK, being the fucking monster that he was, runs up, picks him up, and he starts kind of like, you know, fucking with him a little bit. And he's like, "What's the matter, man? After all that, you still don't have your sea legs? Come on, let's get aboard and let's go home." So as they're going home and they're getting on the ship, we're just gonna have a regular cut scene. It's just gonna be a quick flash. You're at a ceremony. JFK is receiving in front of a large crowd, including all of the other 10 men that he saved, is two medals, one from the Navy and one from the Marines because he saved a Marine. It is the Medal of Gallantry, which is a medal given to any soldier who leads other people out of a hazardous situation. So because he saved the Marine and because he saved his Navy buddies, got him out. Now, after he got them out, you are going to cut to Oswald in the fucking crowd, just kind of like clapping, but you're going to get that little mental speech inside. You're going to get that little inner dialogue where he's just kind of pissed. He's like, dude, fuck this guy. He's like, I could have got out without him. I didn't need him. I'm a fucking Marine. I didn't need a Navy fucking steel loser to save my life. He's like, get out of here. You know, that's what's going on in his mind. But as the medals are given and that scene goes through, we're actually going to cut right to the office, the Oval Office. JFK is now president, and he is speaking to LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson. As he's speaking with Lyndon B. Johnson has his back turned. He's just kind of, just listening to the president. He's rambling on. Turns around. It's John Goodman. John Goodman is my LBJ. Now, from that point, the whole speech that JFK is currently giving to LBJ, he's like, man, I don't understand why our country is seeing black people as the enemy, because this is a huge civil rights moment still. He's like, I don't understand what I have to do or what we need to do to make this country great again and to bring all of our brothers together. He's like, you have no idea how many times while being in the military that a black man has saved my life. He's like, if a black man's willing to save my life here, then I guarantee you they're willing to do it on their own country. There's no reason for us not to unify. And LBJ's like, yeah, of course. And you're the greatest president we've ever had. We should absolutely do that. You're the smartest man I've ever met. And I think that's the smartest idea ever. Blah, blah, blah. As he says it, you can see that he doesn't really mean it. These are not true words. He's just like, I'm vice president, you're president, whatever you say. I'll go along with it because I want to still be vice president. So, of course, I'm going to go along with whatever you say. So, after that little speech happens, we're going to move through a little fade to black, and we're going to see that JFK is, he's out and about, He's got his Secret Service. Secret Service is everywhere, and he happens to see a movie poster. And in this movie poster, he sees the main leading actress is Marilyn Monroe, and he's like, holy shit. I want that ass so fucking bad. He's like, man, I'm trying to get it. So, he kind of decides he's going to work his way out to California, make his way into Hollywood. And sure enough, with no time at all, president going to California didn't take anybody long, especially a Hollywood actress, to realize, oh, I wonder what the president's doing here. So they meet up, and he realizes he's completely fucking obsessed with her. She's trying to get on that president dick. And sure enough, he gives it to her so fucking good that now they are in a behind-the-scenes relationship. And she's like, man, that JFK dick was tight. That was awesome. And sure enough, my Marilyn Monroe character is Margot Robbie. So, from that point on, these two are completely obsessed with each other, man. Like, they're trying to fucking get back and forth to one another as much as possible without anybody finding out. You got JFK trying to keep his Secret Service under hush-hush. She's trying to make sure that all these actors and other directors are not seeing him showing up on set, and they're just pounding away constantly, fucking. Because right now, JFK, he's not getting no ass, man. His wife has given him nothing. He's not really feeling it. So, of course, he looks for love elsewhere. But he falls in love with her. And they both trust each other so much, just to an extreme extent. So one night, after absolute passionate lovemaking and just potential anal, he's laying down with her. He's smoking a cigar because he's a beast. And she's like, I want to hear the story about you saving these 10 men, because that's one of the bravest things I've ever heard in my entire life. So he basically recants the same story. I don't have to repeat it from the beginning, except he adds one vital detail that the reason they were actually out near those waters by these islands by Japan is because they actually filled the ship with stolen Japanese gold. And they were taking this gold back to America and they were going to basically, use it for if any wartime came or anything else happened. They had all these precious metals they can sell and do whatever they want with. He then explains to her the island that they crashed on before they crashed and why they were near that island is because they were worried they were going to get attacked. So they dropped all the gold off on the island, buried it, put it away so no one would ever find it, got back on the ship as soon as possible. By the time they were back on the ship and away from the island, that destroyer came in and just plowed through, wrecked it, destroyed the entire thing, thinking they killed all the soldiers. From that point, he was like, man, I just don't know if I'll ever be able to see that gold again. He's like, what a fortune that was. He's like, you have no idea what's buried on that island. And she's like, that is one of the absolute greatest stories I've ever heard. And once again, we're just going to fade away. And we're going to see LBJ, John Goodman, just kind of like sitting back and forth in his office wondering, like, what am I going to do about this guy? This country is so pushing away from him because of his civil rights movement that he wants to do. I don't know how we're ever going to get the country back on our side. And sure enough, with him being the vice president, he already knows what's going on between him and Marilyn Monroe. So he's like, is there any way I can use that against him? Is there anything I can do? Well, sure enough, our good buddy, Lee Harvey Oswald, is stewing in a bar, pissed off, upset, still like, dude, I fucking hate this man. He saves my life. I could have saved it myself. Now he's president. I can't fucking stand him. He doesn't know anything about the Marilyn Monroe shit. He's just stewing in a bar. And it turns out the bar/nightclub he in is owned by a man named Jack Ruby. And Jack Ruby is played by Daniel Craig. So as they're sitting there spouting off how they hate JFK and everything, they're trying to hatch a scheme like, what the fuck can we do? He's like, you hate him, I hate him. What could we do to possibly ruin this man's life and get him out of office and just destroy him? So they come up with nothing. Absolutely nothing. So they start going on their own little fucking like mission to figure out what they can do to find dirt on this guy. Well, sure enough, knowing that it's the president, the Secret Service finds out this information quickly and takes it right to LBJ. LBJ being John Goodman, he's like, oh no, that's terrible. He's like, you know what? Don't you worry about this. I'm going to talk to the director of the FBI. We're going to get Homeland Security down there. Don't worry about it. This is already taken care of. Wipe it off the board. LBJ makes a personal trip down to Jack Ruby's bar. And he says, hey, man, I want to talk to you. They're like, aren't you fucking the vice president? He's like, yeah, I sure am. He's like, I want to talk to you about this little scheme you guys are hatching. And he's like, there's no scheme. And he gets Oswald down there, calls him in, and they have this little powwow. He's like, I bet you guys didn't know that the president's currently having an affair with Marilyn Monroe. He's like, I guarantee you that I can get people close enough to the president to get detailed pictures, recordings, whatever we need. And then we'll use it against him and we'll just scam him right out of office. All three agree. LBJ goes back. He finds out one of the nights that Marilyn Monroe is coming to town. And he basically stages a whole ploy. He gets a camera set up. He's got his own little spy outside from another hotel snapping pictures. He gets the pictures he wants, gets everything he needs, sends it back to Oswald and Jack Ruby. They take it and they put together their own little note with just bits of the film, but it's just copies of it. And he sends it out. Once again, the director of the Secret Service, he gets the letter, he shows it to LBJ, and he goes, sir, what do we do about this? He's like, well, don't worry about it. You know what? We're not going to negotiate with people who would try to blackmail the president. He's like, don't worry about this. We'll just sweep this under the rug and we'll get it taken care of. So he goes ahead, he takes it to Kennedy, shows him what's going on. He's like, John, listen, I know what's going on. I know you didn't want this to come out and come to light, but these guys want basically your entire fortune. He's like, if you're not going to pay it, they're going to release it. And he goes, well, how credible do you think this is? He's like, they have this, they have A, B, and C, but you know what? I can't imagine anybody actually doing this to the president. Sure enough, in headlines about 2 days later, because he didn't pay, everything gets released. JFK then decides he's going to run a campaign and he's going to try to hush every single person, media outlet, everything, spend every single dollar he has to try to save himself. Tries to save himself, spends literally every dollar. Doesn't have a whole lot left to his name besides the fact that he's the president. So, it didn't work. Obviously, when a headline like that goes into play, there was nothing he could figure out to do. So, one night, him and Marilyn meet up again, in their own little private area, and they kind of like spitball conversation, like, what could we possibly do to get this out of the news and get it out of headlines? How do we put the focus somewhere else, not to ruin my campaign and ruin what we're gonna have later once this is over? Because he was basically playing the whole, I'm gonna leave my wife. Once this is done, divorce my wife, it's you and me, baby, and then we're good. They come up with the idea, what if she faked her death and committed suicide via overdose because she was known for being a scandalous drug-using actress in Hollywood? It was all the rage. Many people overdosed. What was the problem? All they had to do was find a girl that looked just like her who recently died, and every girl at the time wanted to look like Marilyn Monroe. They just waited for the perfect opportunity. They took the last of his money. They paid off the coroner, and they paid off the, people who would come in and pick up the body, like, the local cops and everything else. And they staged her death. So after they staged her death, the only headline in the news is just that Marilyn Monroe has overdosed. Oswald, LBJ, and Jack Ruby are pissed because now none of them have any money, and none of their plan has come to light. So as JFK is now hiding Marilyn Monroe, like a little safe house, he shows up. He's like, I think the only way to save this campaign, to put any money in our pockets, and when this is all over, for us to run away forever, we have to go get that gold off the island. So they stage a little plan to get down to Texas. Currently in Texas is a man named John Connolly. John Connolly is the appointed Secretary of the Navy via JFK. So JFK goes and he speaks to him. He's like, hey man, we have the exact same ideas. This is the whole story. This is what's going on. Can you help me get out of the country? And let's go get this gold. We'll give you a piece of it. You can use it for your campaign. I'm going to take the majority and give it to myself, etc., etc. He's like, absolutely. He's like, 100%. We're going to do that. Let's go get this fucking gold. So they book a flight to get down to, where did I put it? In Florida. And they were going to leave out of, I forget, I picked some international fucking airport, whatever. So they get their whole fake aliases and they get everything set up. But sure enough, LBJ has what I'll refer to as just little informants everywhere. This guy is getting every piece of information wherever it goes. He knew Marilyn wasn't dead. He knew John was up to something, but he didn't know what. And finally, he starts piecing it together. He's like, holy shit, he's leaving the country. Why? Why is he going? He figures it out, and he goes, oh my god, this is that fucking naval story that he told so long ago. There's no way this was true. We all thought it was bullshit when he told us the story. LBJ makes a plan to then go meet up with Oswald and Ruby, and they get to the island and leave before JFK actually gets there. So as they're there, they're hanging out in the nearest hotel by the islands. And they decide they're going to hang out in this fucking little fucking like hotel inn/bar place. This is like some real like goofy Asian rickety place. They're hanging out in the bar, and sure enough, the next people that walk in, like about 12 hours after them, you have Marilyn Monroe, JFK, and Jack Connolly. They're there to get the gold. But before they can do it, they need a place to rest, and they're going to go do it that morning. So as they get into this little like bar sketchy place, if LBJ is noticed, everything's fucked. If Oswald is noticed, everything's fucked. There's no way JFK is not going to notice either of these two people. Jack Ruby, being a nightclub/bar owner and a total barfly, he just happens to work his magic and get next to him while they're talking and figuring out their plan and drawing everything out, and he hears every piece of info that he needs jots it down, takes it back to LBJ and Oswald, and they plan their ambush. So they get out into this jungly patch first before they could get there, obviously, before JFK and his crew could get there. JFK, Marilyn Monroe, and John Connolly, they get to their spot, they start digging, find this huge, massive fucking tarp that's just been absolutely folded over, tucked every which way, and inside is just mountains of fucking gold. It's like bars, little trinkets, all that shit, crazy Japanese art, all that stuff that we made out of gold, all that shit's in there. So as they're pulling the tarp, they check it out, they bag it up, they're going to leave. Ruby and Oswald pop up. And they're like, "You're not going anywhere." And JFK instantly realized who Oswald is. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" He's like, "Why?" He's like, what made you come back here?" And he's like, "Did you want the gold too?" And he's like, "No, not so much." He's like, "The gold's kind of just a bonus." He's like, "I'm here to kill you. I want you dead. After all these years, I can't stand what you've become." Jack Ruby's only stake in the game is that he's with Oswald. He hates JFK too. He wants him dead. LBJ is now hiding behind just a big old patch of jungly brush, and he's just watching it all go down. Sure enough, he's a Marine, being Lee Harvey Oswald, pulls out a 1911. Jack Ruby also has a 1911. JFK was not an ill-prepared man. He breaks out his gun. Connolly breaks out his. There's a fucking shootout on the island, man. They want the gold. They're fucking shooting at each other. They're blasting, missing every shot, because, that's just what happens. Jack Ruby runs out of ammo. He's not a fucking military guy. Fucking runs. He's out of there. Connolly goes chasing after him. JFK's out of ammo. Oswald's out of ammo. JFK starts talking that shit. He's like, "Come on, bitch. Get out here. You won't fight me." He's like, "You're not going to do this. What's the matter? You can't do it without your gun?" Oswald was not going to take that as a Marine. So he comes stomping out. And they just start throwing hands, dude. They're fucking... It is just fisticuffs, man. It is just blast after blast. But JFK is strategically working his way back to the water. He's like taking the hits, moving back, circling around him, pushing him back. They're moving back to the water, and once he gets him in a couple inches of water and he knows he's kind of got him, he starts really laying a town on him, man. He starts using the water against him. He's got him trying to back up through the water, but he can't pick up his feet fast enough, so JFK's hitting with body shots, face shots, just tearing this man apart. After he finally drops him, this man goes face first into the water, assuming that he's probably not going to survive. He starts walking off, and he's like, "That's what I thought, Oswald. I see you still don't have your sea legs," and he just takes off, starts jaunting away. Connolly comes back, he's like, "Hey, man, I can't find that other guy. I have no idea where he went." He's like, "Don't worry about it. This guy's dead. I got no idea what that guy's going to do. Never seen him before. Let's get this gold. Get out of here." They haul ass, man. They grab that shit. They run. They're going. They're getting out of here. They've got their gold. They've got what they've set out to get. They wanted the gold. They got it. They're leaving. Time to go home. LBJ works his way out of that little jungly patch, pulls Oswald out of the water. Motherfucker's not dead. Ruby ran back to the fucking hotel/bar they were in before that. They find him sitting there at the bar drinking, waiting to see if anybody was going to come back. Of course, they all come back. LBJ was never known that he was there. Now, Ruby and Oswald are the only targets, but they still don't know who the fuck Jack Ruby is. They only know him by his face. Well, the first place they decide to go back to is Texas. John Connolly's like, "Hey, man, don't worry about it. I'm going to put you here. I'm going to take my cut. You guys are going to hang out, and then you can go back to D.C., and I'll take care of Maryland." He's like, "Don't worry about it." He's like, "Last year, I took this amazing vacation down to San Juan, Puerto Rico. It's the greatest vacation I've ever taken in my entire life, and that's where I'm going to retire." He tells John, he's like, "Take this portion of gold, put Marilyn on a boat, get her to Puerto Rico. I will meet her there in a year." He's like, "After this election's done and I get through all this, I will come back and I will get her." The next thing he does, he goes back. Goes right back to D.C. Talks to his wife, blah, 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 whatever. Their marriage is dead. She doesn't really give a shit what the fuck he's doing. He decides, well, I guess it's time to start running the last bit of this campaign. But sure enough, one of the first places he goes, he's like, "How about I go visit my good buddy John? It's been a couple months. I got to get my campaign rolling, and why not roll down to Texas? He's my best endorsement right now. One of the biggest states with the most votes and biggest electoral college. I'll head that way." The only thing is, LBJ already expected that. LBJ knew that Connolly was there. LBJ then orchestrates with Oswald the assassination of JFK. Gets him in the fucking library, gets him his gun, tells him when and where. You can act out the rest. Man shot, head blown everywhere. Connolly loses his mind. His wife is like, holy shit, somebody just shot this motherfucker, and, tries to cover herself up, and she's like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. This news then makes its way directly to Marilyn Monroe. This is world-breaking news. She couldn't believe it. She was like, oh my God, how could this happen? She's like, I don't want to be in a world where I don't have John. So she decides, well, the same way they played off the overdose on the girl that they dug up and, signed over to the corner, she was going to do the same thing. She just took a fistful of pills, drank a bunch of alcohol, OD'd. Nobody knew who she was because Marilyn Monroe was already dead, and this is San Juan, Puerto Rico. It's just some dead white woman. They don't care. Cut to, LBJ is just worried. He's like, man, what if Oswald tells? What if he squeals? What am I supposed to do? How do I get through this? Sure enough, he's like, Jack, what if you go kill Oswald? He's like, I can't. He's like, yes, you can. He's like, go out, just shoot him. Don't worry about it. He's like, because nobody would ever think a bad thought about the guy who murdered the man who killed the president. Jack Ruby, he goes, commits the murder, kills Oswald. Oswald never gets to talk. No one ever knows what happens after that because Jack Ruby refused to talk. And LBJ never does anything for the man. LBJ lives happily ever after. John and Marilyn are dead. So is Oswald. And Ruby basically just lives out his life until he dies. Prison. In.
I'm clapping.
Historical adventure. Historical fiction adventure.
Do we ask questions now on the story, Adam? Do you think we can comment? Because
Yeah,
I
I
feel
think we
like,
can comment. Yeah.
I
Oh,
feel
what's
like-
the title, David?
oh yeah,
Oh, and the title, I didn't really know what to call it. I was just gonna call it fucking probably just JFK: The Untold Story.
I dig it.
Just
Okay.
just that classic moniker of a fucking story for fiction.
All right.
I'm trying to think of like a perfect question, or should we ask like?
I think we just comment on it. I don't think we have
Okay,
to
go
ask
ahead.
questions. Just
I mean,
what are
you
your
could
thoughts?
do whatever. Just go ahead.
There's a lot.
It is a lot.
It was
That's
a
what I
lot.
said.
I
It's
got
a lot.
I got lost a lot.
I got lost pretty early on. I'm not gonna lie.
But
Like I think you got too much into setting up the scenes and not
mhm.
telling the story, which made it drag on a lot.
But I will say,
I mean, not saying it's a bad thing. It was good, but
I
like
dig the
I got
ending.
lost. Ending was great. I think the beginning there's too much there, and then the end it just kind of was there.
I think I'm trying to figure out the beginning of the story is setting up why Oswald hates JFK, and then
Correct.
okay, and then
Yep.
the middle of the story is just what JFK is up to while Oswald's doing nothing, and then the ending of the story is Oswald gets his revenge, and in doing so hides the fact that the gold seemed to just disappear amongst the president and Ruby.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just gone. Well, no one knows because Marilyn Monroe had her chunk. John Connolly has his. John
Yep.
lived. John does whatever. Now John Connolly the fourth is some type of politician. So every point that I made, so like the ship being split in half, that's true. The islands, that's true. The only made up part in the shit is Marilyn Monroe,
Mm.
the LBJ portion, and the gold. Everything else is
No,
basically
that's fine.
real. So
No, yeah,
that's why I was trying to get into like where the historical then
They're like,
met
listen,
the fiction.
motherfuckers, you can look it up.
No, I
that
mean,
boat's
No, I
real.
did-
the
No, I'm just
historical
saying
part would have been
that's-
like JFK.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because
I didn't want to be that guy.
I was
like,
trying to
David's
stick to the
crossing so
historical
many lines.
side. I
Yeah.
was trying to stick to the historical side without it being like way out.
You
But
were
the
so
only
in
place.
the historical nonfiction that you forgot, like you squeezed in
Well,
the
that's-
fiction. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, that's the part. I was like, well, what
Uh.
would have been cool? I was like, maybe Marilyn didn't die, and then I was
No,
like,
no,
well,
you're
what the
good.
fuck? I was like, what type of adventure do you send JFK on? I was like, Same adventure you send every asshole on in a fucking historical fiction. Go get some gold, dude. Like, go find a
dig it.
treasure.
That
I
was
was like, you
cool.
need something. Almost every fucking adventure story leads to some type of monetary something. So it's like, fuck it, gold is cool.
No, I liked it.
We're gonna go get that goddamn gold.
It was just funny because like at one point I looked at Adam and then he kind of looked at me and I was like, both of us are lost and we don't want to interrupt. We didn't want
Yeah.
to continue to be like, wait, can you go back? Like, and I just I giggled because I was like, I liked what was happening. It's just I had a moment where I was like, oh fuck, I forget.
Yeah,
the
you lost me
setting.
for like 5 seconds. I went,
Yeah.
oh shit, I missed something.
But
Well, that was the thing. I didn't. Well, for me, I was like, do I go the
No, you-
dialogue portion or do I go for the scene overall? And I was like, well, who gives a shit about what they're saying? That's kind
Yeah.
of where I left
Yeah.
it. I was like,
that's fine.
it's more for the scene, right? If not I was like, I really didn't know what to put. If I was gonna write the dialogue only,
No,
I'd
No.
probably still be talking.
Well, look, man, this
I
thing's
put like 0 dialogue
yeah,
in
I was
mine.
gonna say this thing's like the first part of, or I guess this is the first
It's just
time we're
like
doing
telling the
this thing.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It was a heavy setup. It was not a synopsis. It was
No,
a full
no.
rundown.
it's fine. I feel like
Yeah.
mine's gonna be a fucking paraphrase compared to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. Mine's gonna be a lot shorter.
Yeah. No, but it's cool. All right, Adam, go ahead, man. Reel us
All
into
right.
movie 2.
Movie 2. It's called Westward Bound.
I don't like it. You lose. No.
Okay. Fuck you.
Yeah.
All right. Story starts off with Roy Bennett, played by John Hamm, and his brother Wesley, played by Tom Hardy. They're in the military in like the mid 1800s, 1840s, 1850s. They're out in the west, kind of fighting off Indians and kind of securing lands and things like that. Cut to now they're back east. They're done with the military. They're not enlisted anymore. They're starting their lives up back east. Roy, his wife is Clara, played by Salma Hayek. They're just kind of farmers in the east, just trying to make a living. They have 2 daughters who tragically kind of die right in the beginning in a farming accident, so they're kind of grieving. He said, "You know what? This over here on the east side, not our place. We have bad vibes over here. We're gonna pack up, head west. We're gonna hit the Oregon Trail. Classic adventure. The story's already written, basically. But to join them, they ask Clara's brother, Guy, who is played by Bill Hader, and his wife to join them on the trip, along with Wesley to join them. So they have a group of 5. They're making their way over to Independence, Missouri, to get their start on the Oregon Trail. Once there, they're going to meet up with some other groups to kind of get a caravan together, so they're not just one wagon going. They meet up with probably about 10 or 11 other families and wagons. They're all going to kind of group together and go. One of those families is the Chase family, led by the father Luther Chase, played by Ethan Hawke. His wife, and he has 4 kids with him. The oldest one her name is Daisy, and that would be Lucy Hale. They're all joining together. They're all kind of getting all their stuff together, getting all their supplies. They're getting to know each other, talking about their backgrounds, things like that, to figure out kind of who's going to lead the pack. They all kind of decide, well, Roy, he's got the military background. He kind of knows the lands out there on the western side of the country. We're going to make him kind of our leader. That's who we're going to kind of listen to, and he's going to kind of guide us out there. So they get started on the adventure there. It's spring 1851. We're going to start out montage. It's all going to be going well, just kind of traveling, eating, having good times. As the beginning of trips always end up that way. They're always a lot of fun to start it out. Like I said, they're just kind of going along, having a good time. Guy is kind of cracking jokes the whole time, saying that he's a better cook than everyone there, and all this kind of stuff. So he's kind of the comic relief of the movie. Jump to, we're about 6-7 weeks into the trip. They're a good bit outside of Missouri. First kind of real bad thunderstorm they've experienced, where they kind of got to stop and like camp for the night and kind of wait for this thing to kind of pass over so they don't kind of get lost or kind of get stuck in the mud as they're going along with their wagon wheels and shit like that. Roy's saying, let's wait it out. Luther's saying, no, we need to keep moving. We got, only so much time before, the really bad weather comes in the winter when we get out there in the middle of nowhere. Roy's saying, no, let's wait it out. It's only going to be like one day. Let's wait it out. We can make up time a little bit down the road. Well, they waited out. A couple of members of other wagons that kind of catch the flu. They're a little sick. They kind of, one or two wagons that kind of turn around and saying, you know what, it's not worth it. We're going to go back east and figure it out. So then now they're down 2 wagons. They keep on going. Another little montage, just traveling, nothing crazy. Next thing you know, Luther's wheel's kind of busted, right? So he's asking everybody but Roy for help to fix his wheel. He doesn't like Roy. He thinks that he should be in charge. Whatever. Roy has the part that he needs. Everyone else doesn't have a spare part for him. Roy has one. He offers it to him. He turns him down. Luther turns Roy down. Then, Clara kind of goes and talks to him a little bit, and they're kind of says, "Hey, just take it. You can repay us later. It's no big deal. Like, let's just keep it. Let's keep this thing moving." So they get going. He finally kind of says, "Okay, sure. I'll take the part. I'll take the help, and let's just keep the train moving." During this whole thing, Wesley and Daisy go out, try to get some hunting, trying to forage for some berries, that kind of stuff. They're kind of getting very close. They're flirting, that kind of stuff. They end up hooking up out in the woods while they're fixing this wagon. Lo and behold, Prego, he didn't pull out. What an idiot. She gets pregnant. They obviously don't know it right away, but that's what happens. Next thing we know, they get back on the road. They're moving along here. They get approached by like a small group of Native Americans. Luther, obviously, he's never been out west. He hasn't really experienced any Native Americans in his life before, so he's very kind of skittish. He's like, "Oh, I don't trust them at all. I've only heard the stories in the newspaper of all the bad things that have happened and all this kind of stuff." Roy and Wesley, obviously, they've dealt with them before, being in the military, and they know that this group is friendly. They're showing peace signs. They kind of flash the peace sign back to them so that they know they can join up and talk and see what's going on. So they're talking. They decide they're going to trade some goods back and forth. Get some different food in their bellies. They're going to trade some of their stuff to the Native Americans so they can kind of diversify their diet as well. Everything's happy. Everything's going well. Native Americans, they go back to their tribe and their camp, and they're gathering their goods to bring back to trade. Roy goes off. He's going to help some other families do some other stuff, fixing up their wagons, things like that. So whenever the Native Americans are coming back, Roy's not there to kind of greet them, but Luther is. And he doesn't know what the peace sign that they're showing is. He's kind of real kind of weary about it. He shoots one of the Indians and kills him. So now Roy's like, "Oh, fuck, what was that gunshot?" He comes flying back. He's like, "Luther, what the fuck are you doing? They're treating, we're trading with them, all this kind of stuff." So then Roy is kind of going over to the Indians saying, "Hey, it was an accident, it was a mistake. Let's kind of settle this out. Like, I don't want any issues or anything like that. Let's just let's do it peacefully." So the deal they came upon was, Roy and them would give them a little bit of a better deal. They'd throw in some extra stuff on top of what they were already going to be trading anyways. And then to punish Luther for killing the guy, he's like, "Well, it's going to come out of Luther's shit. He's going to pay the extra for this deal. Obviously Luther's all he's real pissed off about that. He storms off. Again, Clara, she's kind of the peacemaker. She goes and talks to him. She's like, "Hey, let's calm down here. We'll still we'll divvy out the rest of our stuff to you when you need it. We'll kind of ration out some extras for you whenever you are starting to run low on things and you can't make it through. We'll figure all that out." So he's like, all right, whatever, but they're still, I'm not happy, but they continue on. So they're going along the way. Again, montage. It's a long ass journey, so we're just going to montage it a little bit here. Finally make it to the North Platte River, which is one of the more dangerous crossings on the Oregon Trail. Roy kind of gets up to the river. He's looking at it. He's like, "Boy, this is looking pretty rough right now. Let's settle down for the night. Let's kind of see if it's a little calmer in the morning. See if it slows down a little bit. Maybe it'll lower a little bit in the morning, make it a little easier to cross." Luther, obviously hard-headed, he's like, "No, we need to go now because we've lost days back sitting out storms. We need to keep moving, get across the river." Roy's like, "I don't think so. Let's see how it goes. If anything, we can go upriver. There's a ferry up there, about 2 days ride. We can get on the ferry to cross us, to get us across the river, and then we won't have, there won't be any risk really involved with losing people or wagons or supplies or anything like that." Group votes. They're like, "All right, yeah, let's stay the night. Let's see how it is in the morning. Then we'll decide." Well, when they get up in the morning, they see another group is crossing the river. They don't make it. Not all of them make it. Probably about 50% of their supplies and wagons and things topple over. They lose a lot of their animals, a lot of their people and everything like that. Roy says, "No, we're not going there. We're going up to the ferry. I don't care what it costs. We're taking the ferry." Luther's very upset about this because he's not very well off. He's very poor. He's like, "I don't know if I can even afford the ferry." But they get him talked down enough to where he's like, "Okay, that's fine. We'll do it. We'll take the ferry." It's not an easy journey across on the ferry. It almost capsizes a couple times. We'll take in a couple of the carts over, but they get over and very minimal losses of supply, so it's a good success. So they keep on going. A few weeks down the road there, Luther's family, they're out of clean water on their cabin. We all know what's coming now, right? He's gonna find some dirty ass water to try to give to his family to keep drinking. He does. He finds some. He brings it up. Roy's like, "Boy, this water smells funny. Probably shouldn't be drinking this. We'll give you some of ours, and we'll get some clean water down the road." Luther's like, "No way. I'm not taking your water. I'm not taking any of your shit." He gives it to his family. Youngest son starts feeling pretty sick after drinking that water. Ends up, he gets dysentery. He dies pretty quickly. They've been on the road here for a few months. The immune system was pretty much shot. Plus, it's the 1850s, so there is no immune system really. Kid dies. The rest of them were like, okay, they were a little sick, but it's kind of more like food poisoning. But the youngest kid dies. Luther's blaming Roy for the death of his son because he's like, "You didn't stop me from giving him the water," but Luther's just in his own head. Anyway, they continue on. They dump out that contaminated water. They give Luther. They kind of mix up water from different wagons to get to Luther's family so they can keep on the journey. They keep on moving down the road. Luther's just increasingly challenging Roy on everything. Like, he really does think that he should be in charge of this venture. He thinks that Roy is just making decisions so that all the less well-off people are struggling, and he's doing fine because he had the military background. He has some money. Well, they're getting to the cold part now, right? They're up in the mountains. It's getting a little snowy. It's getting colder. Big snowstorm is coming through. Roy's like, let's camp out again for the night. Let's let this storm pass because we're not gonna be able to see where we're going. Luther says, "Oh no, I'm not listening to you anymore. I'm moving on." So him and a few of his other buddies that are along on the trip, they're starting to agree with him. They take off. He's trying to take Daisy with him. She's pregnant. She's like, "No, I'm not going with you. I'm staying here with my baby daddy, Wesley." So Wesley pulls a gun on him. He's like, "You're not taking her," and then the whole little fight breaks out. He ends up leaving Daisy with Wesley and Roy and their family. So they just start out in the snow. Guy and his wife, they just kind of start joking about cannibalism just to kind of lighten the mood a little bit. A little Donner party. The storm passes, then everyone that stayed behind, they gather up all their stuff, they get going on the trail. After a few days, they see kind of remnants of the different wagons kind of scattered along the path, and then eventually they see the wagons that left. They all kind of crashed, and everyone kind of died right there. Kind of fell off a cliff or something. I don't know. I didn't figure that part out, but they all died. Obviously, they're kind of Daisy's very distraught about this. She's like, why wouldn't he just stay with us? All this kind of stuff. That's kind of it. They kind of continue on the journey. They make it to like a fort with like pretty much no supplies left. They make it to the fort. They get some help. Eventually, then they make it to their destination. End of the movie kind of shows where they are. Roy and Clara, they got a kid now. Since their 2 kids passed in the beginning. Daisy and Wesley, they're married. They have their kid, and then Guy and his wife are running the restaurant. And
I like it. Classic Oregon Trail.
Yep.
It made me think of Hatfield and McCoy meets Oregon Trail.
A little bit. Yeah.
I dig that about it, though. I love me a Western.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't know of many movies that really focus strictly on
the actual journey.
Yeah, it's more of like bits and pieces of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know of many, or really any off the top of my head.
Wagons West.
That's kind of just that journey,
Living that Wagoneer life.
Yeah.
Like the struggle of not having water.
Yeah.
We didn't fill up at the river because we're dumb. I get that. I liked it. I dig the movie, Adam.
Thank you.
It was a great chaos. David, anything?
That was probably one of the most, I don't know how to put it, without being a gunslinger Western, one of the most Western-y Westerns.
I know, right?
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
I've probably heard in a while where it's just so fucking, specific to that travel where it's all the story is all the travel.
This story is literally all the bad things you've heard from every one of the different trips across the Oregon Trail
Yeah.
that happened literally in one group.
Right.
Except cannibalism. They joked about it, but it didn't.
They joked about it. I got to lighten the mood a little bit.
Yeah. No, I dig it. Well, shit. I have to follow you two's. I feel like my story is way shorter.
Okay.
I mean, just because I wrote, I didn't write out moment by moment by moment by moment. I did more of the summary of it, but it's still 6 pages, so I feel good about it. But I'll have to write my title for the end because I didn't have one I loved, but I'll bounce them off you guys afterwards. But so my story begins. I'll say basically the cast members, who they're playing as their characters come up, and then I'm just gonna refer to them by the actor names because I felt like I was getting confused if I wrote normal people's names. But
Nope, you're good.
Gary Oldman is a rich man from the 1950s who is paying a man who he feels is the only man brave enough to find the Fountain of Youth. John Wayne, played by Mel Gibson. Not understanding that he is not a real adventurer but an actor, he forces the Duke to lead the expedition, like Gary Oldman. Let me see. Hugh Jackman is an expert in early settler history, and Olivia Wilde is a scientist here to help prove the fountain is real. Gary Oldman has also hired Russell Crowe and his wife, Helen Connor, whatever her name is. Helen Bonham. How do you say it?
HBC.
Connor.
There we go. To keep the team on track. Russell Crowe is clearly an ex-army vet of World War I. They begin their search in the Carolinas, eventually finding a settlement called Roanoke. The thing about Roanoke is the settlers that were there were established. A group of people went back to England to go and check on how things are there and bring back supplies, and when they came back, there was no trace of the people in Roanoke. The only thing was there was a word written in a tree, and they were never heard from again. But they find the moniker in the tree where the words were, and it says Croatoan. And they're like, oh, Croatoan was the name of the town ran by these Indians known as the Croatoans. And they're like, I wonder if that has something to do with where we're going. So they are like, all right, well, first let's go to the city. And they go and they head to the city where that moniker was. And they're like, you learn that Olivia is here to find, like, a cure for her father. Like, she starts giving backstory to Hugh Jackman. She's like, my father's really sick. I really want to find the Fountain of Youth because I feel like it can help him get better. And then Hugh Jackman is like, well, I'm just here to get rich, and I'm going to write a novel about this and just make so much money off of this. And during the trip, Russell Crowe is like, I'm just here to get paid. And his wife's like, I'm just here because he's here. They don't find any clues at the city. They're searching, and they're, like, getting frustrated. And they keep, like, the Duke keeps going at it. Mel Gibson's character keeps going at it with Russell Crowe, because Russell Crowe's like, oh, you're a tough guy, huh? You're a tough guy on TV and in movies. He's like, you know what a real tough guy does is he goes to war and starts giving him shit because he's not a military man. But Hugh Jackman then is like, well, you know that Croatoans are people too. Like, just because there's no clues here, maybe we can ask the people. So they go off to find the tribe. And they find the tribe, and they find the commander. And they're like, hey, can you tell us anything about the Fountain of Youth? Do you know where it is? What happened to the people of Roanoke? And he tells them, he's like, look, I can't help you. You know, I'm not able to. It's not in my place. And they're like, man, like, you'd really be helping us. Like, any information you can give. And the chief's like, no, I'm sorry. Like, I don't think you're worthy of the knowledge. And they start to leave, and Helen Bonham Carter just randomly shoots her gun in the air, and everyone freezes. And they're like, what the fuck? And she's like yelling at him. Russell Crowe walks up to the chief, and he's like, look, you're either going to tell us the location, or I'll start skinning your children. And the chief's like, all right, I can tell you where it's at. Just don't hurt anyone. And he tells him it's in Florida. And Russell Crowe's like, all right. Pulls out a map, rolls it out. It's like, draw me the trail. Draw me the way to it. And the chief, tells him, look, it's called the Tamaimai Trail. And it leads to Alligator Alley. Russell Crowe's like, all right, just for insurance. And he stabs the chief. And Mel Gibson goes to step forward and is like shocked. He's like, what the hell? Like, what? And he starts screaming at him, what are you doing? Russell Crowe turns around and just socks him in the face and knocks him out. he wakes up. They're in canoes going through the Florida swamps. And you see Russell Crowe as the map. Helen and everybody, they're rowing him. It's just the standard group. And he looks like slack-jawed. He's just like, what the fuck? Like, Hugh Jackman's like, what have I signed up for? Russell Crowe is just, rowing and helping out. Olivia's like spaced out. And Helena's whistling and just having a blast and paddling. And Crowe's humming along. And Mel Gibson then, like, starts arguing with Russell Crowe. He's like, what the fuck, man? Like, why did you kill him? Like, you had no reason to. He told us the location. And Russell Crowe, of course, it's back then. He's racist. He's like, why you crying over red blood? And they're like, what? That's fucked up. Like, dude, come on, they're people. But they start rowing, and they approached where the map's leading to them. It's this giant tree, like a huge, like, swamp tree that has a giant opening in the mouth of it. And the mouth of the tree has writing all over it, and Hugh Jackman starts translating it. And Crowe's like, well, what's it say? And he's like, is it safe? And he's like, yeah, it's safe. This is sacred tree. And they stand up, they tie the boats off, and they get in. And then they start walking around. And as they step in, like, they see areas, they light torches. And in there's 4 doors. One is on alligator. It has an alligator drawn on it. One has a snake drawn on it. One has a panther drawn on it. One has an eagle. And they're looking at it. And Hugh Jackman starts, like, reading the sigils all over the place. And he's like, this is a test. And they're like, the path. And he's like, the message is the path forward is on one of these doors. He's like, there's nothing else written. He's like, it's not a riddle. He's like, the words are just death, rebirth, death. And Crowe just walks up to Hugh Jackman and says, pick a door. And, he's like, why me? And Russell Crowe points his gun at him. So Hugh Jackman approaches the eagle door. And then he walks over to the panther door. And he looks at the alligator door, and then he looks at the snake door. He says the tribes here would most likely worship the panther. And he pushes on the door, and the floor falls out and seals him. Crowe and smiles and says, next. And he points his gun at Olivia. And Mel Gibson stands up and is like, I'll choose. And he goes up to the alligator door and looks at the snake door. And he's like, well, why doesn't she try this one, pointing at Helena? And she laughs and says, in your dreams. And Mel Gibson, knowing some culture of the natives from past roles, sees the eagle, and he's like, well, I remember eagles are one of the 5 spirit animals of the natives. So he goes up to the eagle door and closes his eyes and pushes on it, and it opens. A bright light shines back through the opening of the cave. It seems to be like a shiny blue light in the water, like as if like an algae's growing in there, like a what are they called? Luminescent.
Bioluminescence.
Yeah. Olivia walks past him and goes up to the water, and Crowe follows him and shoves him in there and tosses him a jug, and he says, can you fill that bottle? He fills one bottle, Olivia fills the other one. Olivia walks up to the door, goes out. As soon as Mel approaches, Crowe grabs the bottle and kicks him in the chest and pulls a gun out. And he says, thanks, cowboy. And he closes the door. He pulls like the whatever mechanism was in the door and pulls it, and it just drops on him. And Mel starts beating on the door and hears nothing. He looks around defeated, and on the walls is written Croatoan. and he touches it, and the door opens right up. He touched, and Mel walks up and sees they're loading up the kayaks and stuff and getting ready to paddle off. Crowe pushes the kayak out a bit and gets ready to climb onto it. And just as he does, he gets punched right in the side of the head and falls into the water. And Helena screams and reaches for Crowe. When he resurfaces, he sees the bottle he was holding is floating away. And then he sees the boat, and it's like, he has to choose between them. And he dives out for the bottle. And Helena screams in looking at him because she sees an alligator rise in the swamp. And he sees it, and he grabs the bottle, and he's trying to swim as fast as he can to the boat. And Helena's holding her hands out. Well, Olivia steps up and just pushes her right into the water with Crowe as he's reaching for his hands. And when they both fall into the water, the alligators swarm them and do a death crawl and pull him under. So Mel Gibson then gets into the boat, and Olivia thanks him. Is like, "Oh my God, you saved my life! Like, thank you so much." And they have that one bottle, and they're just paddling off. And it's funny because as he's paddling, he looks down and he sees the book that Hugh Jackman's been working on with all the notes and stuff. And he's like, laughs and just picks it up and takes it with him. So we cut to they're on a train, and he's sitting there reading the book that Hugh Jackman's been writing, and he's laughing because it ended with him writing what he thought was going to happen at the cave as they would approach the tree, and he found the Fountain of Youth and all this, and just filled in his own stuff. He was like, man, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this published whenever we get back in honor of Hugh Jackman's character. And Mel and Olivia are on a train just talking about how they're on their way back to see Gary Oldman's character. And she's like, yeah, I'm like so excited. They talk about what they want to do whenever they get back. And Mel Gibson's like, well, I want to settle down somewhere out west from it all. Maybe finish, see if I can add more chapters to this book, Hugh's book. And Olivia says she just wants to do some good in the world and cure her father. And since they're on the train, they're heading to California. They go to bed. Mel wakes up with a note on his chest, and it says, "Dear John, thank you for saving me and my father, and I appreciate it. There's a suitcase with $50,000. Please enjoy the West. My father and I want nothing but to thank you for everything you've done. He loved your work and knew you could do it. You're a hero and a true gentleman. May the West give you what you deserve." And it just says, Diane Disney. And Mel Gibson laughs and realizes Gary Oldman this whole time was looking so familiar to him that it was a picture of Walt Disney at the with the ledger and picture of Diane. And for the title, I didn't know where to title this. I was trying to think of like a way of having it about the Fountain of Youth, but I think it would just be, the journey for the Fountain of Youth, like something generic, I can't think like I can't make it about John Wayne. Like I can't be like the adventure of John Wayne, or like I think with this one it's got to be about what the journey was, is to find the Fountain of Youth. So it could be like, I don't know. There's no good Fountain of Youth titles.
Yeah.
Talk everlasting.
Youthful Juice. No.
Yeah.
I guess like that's the one thing I struggled on. I couldn't think of a good title. But yeah. It's just about getting Walt Disney the cure for the Fountain of Youth, and you don't know, like that's the thing of it that's funny, is because like there's no real telling if it is like, I mean, he died in the end. So it's not like they found the actual Fountain of Youth. He's just trying everything he could.
Yeah.
That's where I was like, an interesting twist on a very, very boring story. I'm sorry.
No, I think it was good. Had a lot of adventure in there. Your traditional like adventure with
I went for it with historical characters like John Wayne.
yeah.
I figured it was funny because I was like, if Walt Disney saw John Wayne on TV, I was like, this motherfucker has done so much adventuring. He's perfect for this.
Yeah.
That was my logic. But yeah, it's about how Walt Disney tried to get anything to prevent him from dying of cancer using his daughter. His real biological daughter, not his adopted daughter. I looked up, he has 2 daughters.
I didn't know that, to be honest with you.
I didn't either. I was very
I didn't even know he had
curious.
any kids, to be honest.
Yeah, that's this all started with me going like, I wrote the story about Walt Disney, and I was like, wait, does he have a child? I was like, oh, he has 2. He has an adopted daughter and a real biological daughter, and now only like 2% of Disney is owned by the Disney family, which is just silly.
So
That's still a
yeah.
lot of money, yeah. But yeah, that was my story. I'm sticking to it. I went all adventure with historical figures set in the correct time period.
We had a lot
Walt
of
Disney died in
different
68.
different ways of doing it, which is
but we all had
fascinating.
we all had great ideas of like, how do we incorporate historical event / characters into a story that is an adventure. So I don't know, who do we think did the not best? This is the tough thing.
Yeah.
Like, the criteria is, did they have enough of an adventure? Like, was there an actual adventure? Or was there, like,
I feel like
not
everybody
enough
had an
history?
adventure.
But you know what I mean? Like, that's the
Yeah.
hard part. Whose story would you see as a film? Like, as a film in general?
Well, that's
This
where
is
it gets
tough.
weird, because like you and I wrote a National Treasure-esque movie,
Mm-hmm.
where
Yeah.
Adam wrote a fucking Western.
Which is still
Yeah.
sick.
Right, and that's what makes it tough as to what to actually pick and go through. Because everything, I don't think the adventure part's the problem.
No, I think
Neither-
adventure was probably the easier part.
Yeah, but the historical fiction hits every spot too, really. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like I went historical person, you went historical
Event thing.
event, and then
Yeah.
Elliott kind of picked like a historical myth with the Fountain of Youth.
Yeah.
With historical figures. And then,
I mean, you picked.
Yeah.
I mean, is John Wayne a historical figure though, or is he just like an actor?
I would say he is like a historical figure. Like,
Do
he's
people
the
like write
original
about him in
cowboy.
history books?
Yeah.
Well, I would say like he's like whenever you hear,
Pop culture history for sure.
yeah, I guess like you think of like literally when people think of a cowboy, like if you're thinking old Western cowboy, John Wayne.
I think
is
of
the
Clint
picture.
Eastwood. Yeah.
Well, I mean we do, but Clint, like before Clint was John Wayne.
Well, what's the gap between those two, really?
It's actually pretty significant.
Like how much?
So I'm pretty sure John Wayne died in 68, 63. I mean, din 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 do do din 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 din. Wait, I shouldn't do that. I could get us. That might get us flagged.
No, it's okay.
John Wayne, not Casey. We know what my phone looks
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. No.
No. So he died in 1979, and let's see, Clint Eastwood is.
I know he's still alive. I can at least go that
Yeah.
far. The man's still kicking.
So Clint Eastwood was born 1930.
Still hella old.
He is
Yeah.
hella old. He's 91, and he's still active. That's fucked up. So there is a significant connection there where they both are old as fuck around the same times. And then I got Walt Disney, very influential man, played by Gary Oldman. No, I don't know. I don't like this part. This is the part where like maybe we'll need impartial judgment.
I think the only way to do it is without saying who did worse. I think it's going to go on a judgment of who is going to be the definitive winner first. Whose story are you voting for over the other person's? I think that's going to have to be the first spot.
It's so tough. Like, all right, so if you like, we're saying like you get one. Should we do it like you get one vote? Because like,
Well,
You-
I'd say let's
like
we
each,
like let's
each round we
well,
vote
well,
one.
well, I think the best way to do it is let's decide. Like you decide whose story you liked. Adam will do the same. I'll do the same. Whatever it is, whoever comes out the winner will then pick second place. He'll decide which story he liked more out of those other two. Then
If I'm picking between yours and Adam's, I like Adam's more, only because I could, the beats were easier to follow overall from the adventure arc. You know what I mean? Where it starts with like people whose kids die, so they head out west, and then the other family they meet while traveling west, they clash like personalities on who should lead it, and then the adventure is just how that family adapts on its journey to its goal. Where the JFK one, I feel like I can't say who initially took the journey, like whose journey was it, main character wise, because by the end of it, you're between, is it JFK's journey we're following, or is it Oswald's journey to become who he becomes? That's me looking at it as a hard acting, or like a hard storytelling aspect.
I was it's JFK's story overall. He just dies at the end, so Oswald has to be the victor.
It's like The Departed when you follow, the main character, and by the end of it, the character dies.
Oh, it's like I wrote an Oscar award-winning movie. Weird.
He did. But I don't know. Like I felt like for me, take the compliment of you wrote an Oscar movie, but I liked Adams more. I disagree with the Academy. I'm sorry. That was just me personally. I felt like I followed Adams' full story arc easier versus yours in the sense of like movie wise. I don't know if that makes sense.
Let's roll it from bottom to top. Adam, go ahead.
I mean, I liked them both a lot. There's a lot of good things about them. I'll just judge it based on which one I would see first, and it probably would have been Elliott's. I think it's just easier to follow. It would be the one that I would actually want to go out to the movies and watch it instead of waiting until it comes to like HBO. I would still watch them both. I still want to watch them both, but would I go to the movies to watch the one about JFK? I don't know.
So that's perfectly fine. This is where it's gonna suck because I already know I'm picking Adam's movie over Elliott's. So with that recommendation, I think I'm holding the L on this one.
I know.
Yeah.
I didn't want to give it to you. I'm sorry.
And it's time to spin the wheel.
Yeah.
All right, let me
dream this wheel.
set it up.
I
will
think
say,
it's time
David,
for it.
I do think your movie is awesome. Like I do think it legitimately is. I feel like it was more of a like toward the end of it, I was feeling like it was more of a series type of movie because of the long con of format of seeing the relationship blossom over that length of time, because it's JFK having an initial relationship with Oswald, then JFK's initial relation with Lyndon B, and the downfall of all that. It was nuts though.
That's kind of the one problem I had writing it in general because I was like, there's no way to shortcut this.
No, yeah.
I don't know how
Yeah.
I could shortcut all of this shit with all these people. But that also was one of the problems where I was like, man, 6 characters is a lot of fucking characters after fucking horn in, dude.
We
We got to cut it back to 5.
Yeah, to 5.
4 or 5 characters would be good.
And I will say, you know what? I mean, of the ones to lose, David, the first one, that's fine. And it was exactly what you didn't want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
you literally
exactly.
said.
You called out the hardest one for you, and
fucking
guess what?
Babe Ruth pointed your finger in the fucking...
And it fucking hit. And it was like the spin, it pissed me off too because it was so quick. It was like, boom, adventure. I was like, stop. Stop it. Why, dude?
So
and then the worst one to go with it.
yeah.
Historical
now-
fiction.
So now, watch and review. Hot pepper, wet clothes, accents, fast, slow banana,
That one's my great
winner's
one.
purchase cinnamon. All right, so like if I'm gonna get one of these that's gonna make shit easy on me, I kind of hope I either get the watch a shitty movie or the fast, slow banana.
Fast Slow Banana is one of my favorite things on there.
I will say, I hope it's fast, slow banana or wet clothes. I mean, if it's any of the video ones, we have to get your camera set up.
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah.
And
The
then-
worst case, I'll film it separately and then we'll fucking shoehorn
Force
it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But fuck,
Okay.
let's see.
All right.
What does
Like
fate decide?
Like the accent for like a whole thing's gonna fucking be annoying. I
It's gonna
definitely
be
don't want to
annoying,
be.
but
I definitely
yeah.
don't want to be in wet clothes. I don't want to eat a fucking like a tablespoon of fucking cinnamon.
I know. This is
And the hot
ridiculous.
pepper is all gonna determine because like I'll let you guys pick. If I get hot pepper, you guys pick what fucking pepper it is. Then
Fair enough.
I'll let you
Here
guys
we go.
decide what pepper. But yeah, if you want to spin it, I'm ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is.
Oh,
Winner's purchase.
All right, Adam. Which one is it gonna be? I thought it was gonna be fucking banana for a second. I was like, oh.
I
shit.
thought it too. I was getting
I
so
know,
excited
I
for
was
Fast Slow
so
Banana.
ready for fast, slow banana. Well, winner's purchase is still a great one where the winners purchase something and the loser has to have it with them or on them or in at least the full episode shot. I think that one's great. Like,
Yeah.
Do you have something in mind already, or do you want? Are you gonna
we'll be
wait
texting.
to?
We'll,
Is it gonna be a surprise? Like how do we want to work that?
Oh man,
Um,
I think we.
I don't have anything in mind right now.
I
So
think we'll determine it during the week, and then
yeah.
what we can do is we'll have the person take a photo with it. We'll post it on the Instagram and the Facebook and everything, and then the episode will also feature it. I think that's the perfect
Yeah.
job for it. You know.
I'm down. I'm down. Well then, now that we've gotten that set, we're spinning the wheel next episode for the next everything,
I
like for the whole draft, or are we doing the wheel now and just the draft in the episode? How
intriguing.
how do you want to go
I
about
thought we were
that?
doing like Day and Dragons next, and
Yeah,
then
we do have Day and Dragons next. So I think we'll do the same thing we did. Like we'll have
Yeah.
Day and Dragons next week. After that, it will be Draft 2, baby, and I think we spin the wheel.
You want to do it all during the draft?
I think so. I think we do the same format. It felt like
Okay.
a good hearty
Yeah.
episode, and then again we'll see what fuckery we get.
yeah. And did we decide we're taking those off for this one so we can get adventure and historical fiction again,
Yep,
right?
Yep. We'll remove those, and any actors that were picked, we
Yep.
can't draft.
And we can cycle that stuff back in.
Yeah, yeah. We'll do-
A few times down the road.
Yeah, I was gonna say we do at least like 4 drafts per season. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then
Okay.
new season starts. But well, fuck, we made it, boys. Thanks again for your time. It was just another day with
David.
Adam?
Elliott. Like, comment, subscribe, click a bell, and you know what? Let us know which movie you liked, or if you liked the draft, and let me know what you want in Day and Dragons. I want to see what we can throw at these motherfuckers.
I'll spit it right back in your face.
I'll take it.
Love you guys.
Gladly.
Bye.
Swallow it.
The show has ended. The show